G'day and welcome back to my channel. Look at the St Louis. It's really coming along now. I've got the bowsprit in. It's been gammoned. I'll tell you what that is later. The stays are in that are holding in place. I did some more ratline rigging. I completed this side using my ratline tool that I developed. That'll be for sale soon. All that and more. Tips, tricks, everything that I know putting these ships together. So I'll show you how to do these lovely little sort of pulley arrangements here that hold the stays in place. So does that sound interesting? I hope so. All right, let's get on with it. Roll the music. All right, well, I've assembled here my blocks and my cordage, so I'm getting prepared to be really serious with this rigging. Now, I had shown in previous videos how to put the shrouds in and do the dead eyes up and then get the rat lines happening using my special Harp tool, which I developed. So go back and watch those if you want to know how that was done. Basically, I had gone too far ahead of myself, and what I needed to do when I was basically rigging these rat lines is I had to put a very temporary stay in here. Otherwise, the shrouds and the rat lines were all pulling the mast out of shape, right? So it wasn't in its correct, true, straight up and down. This one, foremast in this case, is straight up and down. Then they angle back like 3 degrees and 5 degrees, and then about 7 to 10 degrees. That's how they go. Explained all that in another video. But anyhow, this needs to be replaced with a proper forward stay. So I'll need to put in this here, and then I can get rid of that little temporary bit of string that's in there holding it together. And then I need to put the forward stays in as well for the main mast and the mizzen mast. To put all that in, then I can get on with the rest of the rat lines, because there's sort of no point doing that unless you've got that stay in there which stops everything getting out of shape. Okay, so imagine you've got triangles here with the stay pulling down that way and the shrouds pulling down that way. You form the triangle and it rigidly holds the mast in place. So it says that. But we have a problem. To put that stay in, it comes off the bowsprit. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So what do? Well, I've got to put the bowsprit in, got to glue it in, because at the moment it's just been sort of loose. But there's a problem there, because bowsprits can't just sort of sit in mid-air. I mean, just gluing it there won't be enough. Pulling up on it, it's going to, it easily pulls that way. And the way that the shipbuilders solve this problem is a thing called gammoning. At this point here, there's a whole lot of very strong cordage that goes around, and it gets underneath the bow here, the actual, the beak, I think it is, the prow, okay? So it actually goes through all of this area, okay? All this little beak, I think that is the beak. This is a prow. And, sorry, my terminologies are not very good today, are they? No. Didn't get much of a sleep. It's been stinking hot. Anyhow, this pointy out bit here has a hole in it usually, and the string goes through. Now, Airfix had put some gammoning already on this thing here. But that's a lousy position, because there is, we tip this over very carefully and trying to wreck it, Harry. There is no hole there. They've put a hole right up here, okay? Which isn't completely inaccurate, because quite often with these friendships, I did some research on this trying to figure out what's going on. Some of these friendships actually had 2 sets of gammoning. So I'm not going to do that, because I'd need to sort of do some more holes and a few things. Not going to do that. I'm going to take advantage that their Airfix has put this hole here. And the fact is they also put the little tie point under there. All right, see that? There's a little hole there. And that's exactly what you want. You want the cordage to come off the bowsprit through the hole here in this little 4-piece and down and through there. That is what is done. If you saw my bounty video, I did it on that one, but the positionings were correct. Revel got it right. So I need to fix that, but it's chicken and egg stuff. So I'll need to do that, gammon that in, okay, and then I can put in my forestay, and then I can put in the other forward stays here, okay, lock all that in, then I can get on with the rest of the kit. Right, we're going to do the gammoning. I've got some cordage here that's basically the same diameter, or thickness if you like, as the shrouds, and that's what we're going to use to do this cordage here. And it's a dark brown. I didn't have a black one, dark brown, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I've measured out about 1/2 metre of this, 50 centimetres, because I don't know, I don't want to be short. That's the thing. I measured that's about just over 2 centimetres from the hole to the hole down here to the actual bowsprit there, and then assumed like a circle of windings, and I've got about 6, so once you multiply pi into that, it's over 40 centimetres. So going to 50, I've got a bit up my sleeve. So let's wax that and get on with this. Now I've glued in the bowsprit down here where it goes into a little slot, and I made sure that was angled correctly, so that is all ready to go. And that's had a couple of hours to set while I was messing around making some more dead eyes. Now I've put a peg in here. It just sits nicely there, friction, and it's holding the bowsprit up, because although it's glued in, once I start putting the gammon on, it's going to try and pull it down and distort it. And similarly, when I start putting the forward stay here on, that's going to try and pull it up. So everything's pulling in every direction, so the peg is there to try and stop everything from ripping everything apart. So with the gammon, we might start at the bottom. Now to come up through the deck, I'm going to use the beading needle again. I've attached this to, because I really can't see what I'm doing. So that allows me to poke that through. That's so much easier than trying to do it blind. So that will come through there, and then it goes around the outside, and that would go down again through. Now the thread from the other side, I've got another beading needle, so this time I'm coming from the other side through there, and there she is, pulling that through. Okay, and you go opposite, so if you're coming in from this side, you go around that side, because it's supposed to make like a figure of 8. So then that goes over there, the opposite direction, and then it'll go back down the hole. And then again, that will be threaded through that little hole at the bottom there. And we're starting to get the gammon working. So I'll just keep putting the loops through until it's finished and show you what the result looks like. Now I've got the last 2 through there. I think I've got enough runs there. It looks gammony enough to me. I mean, I don't know how many, usually half a dozen or so. It looks good. And the last 2 threads I can do under here, is they'll disappear inside there, so they won't be so noticeable. How they actually tie them off, I'm not quite sure, but this is how I do them on the models anyway, because you've got a whole lot of stuff under there and it's hardly seen. So that can be, get that as tight as possible. I'm just doing a and I put a dab of glue on that to seal it off. Beauty of the white glue is it'll all just disappear and dry clear, so we can come back and we'll be able to cut that fairly close and you won't see a thing. Alright, so that's there. Now we can remove our peg, maybe. Yep. And one trick we can do now is slide the gammon up a bit, which will just tighten it. Okay, because remember we're going to have the forestay pulling up on that as well. So yeah, that will all work well. Later on I can probably put a little bit of glue on here as well to make that look a bit better. But it should be nice and tight. So there we go. That is our bowsprit gammoned. Well, I have been busy putting in the stays, and I have already put in one here that goes to the mizzenmast, and I've put in the one here for the mainmast. They are in, and I've taken out that temporary line that I had here to keep everything tight so I could keep the gammoning taut, and I can keep the ratlines taut, because you can see the ratlines now, they are droopy, because if I actually tighten this up, see? And that's why stays are so important, and why you probably should put them in first. I usually do. I usually put all my stays in first, and then I put the ratlines in, but I got carried away wanting to make videos and gaffed it up. So it's a case of do as I say, don't do as I do. Yeah, so Mr. Wobbly. Okay, let me show you what you're going to need. Now, to build this forward stay, we're going to need a few things. Obviously, we're going to need a drill bit so we can drill out the holes in our blocks, my little cutters that I use to trim, some tweezers so we can pull things through, a fresh toothpick, and some glue of your choice, in my case, white PVA. And this is a forceps. When you let it go, it holds things tight, so it is great for holding blocks. And these are the tiny little blocks we're going to use. They're triple blocks, see? They have 3 holes in them, and they have scoring around the outside to run your line. So your stay line goes around the outside, and then in the middle goes all the little channeling that is used to hold things together. So, yep. Now, I've got 2 of those. One of them's on a nice heavy base, and that one's there. I'm going to use some 1mm cordage, so this is twice as wide as we did for the shrouds, so that's what I'm putting for this bottom stays. As the stays go up, they get thinner. These ones will be 1mm thick, so that's good size. They would vary from foremast to mainmast to mizzenmast, but at this scale, honestly, there's so little in it that I'm just going to stick 1mm, and then I'll go to 0.5mm as I go up to the stays that go up the mast. But these ones, 1mm, and I've got some 0.5mm jute colour, which is going to be used for the channels in between. This is really good stuff. It's very stiff, which is great because there's no way I can use my beading needle to poke through, so we need something stiff. Yep, everybody likes a good stiff one, don't they? So this is the line that we're going to make, and it goes all the way up to underneath the crow's nest there, okay? And it has our 2 blocks, and it has a very short length here that ties off to the bowsprit. So we've got to make that little short length first, then we'll make this really long length and leave plenty of it to loop round, and it just seems to seize and tie off a little bit in front of the crow's nest. As always, when you're working with blocks, drill them out first before you start threading. Nothing worse than halfway through a rig and you find you've got a blocked hole. And as everybody knows, it's no fun having a blocked hole. Yeah, ask a constipated mathematician. He worked it out with a pencil. Yeah. Now what we need to do is decide what's a good side and the bad side. And it's a bit ratty on that side, so that is going to be my good side. Now you need to rig it so that the long part of the block goes to the middle, which I kind of gaffed up on one of them. I thought I had it right. So again, a bit wonky on that side. Oh, it's not too bad on that side, but that side does present better. Right, so that's the side. Now there's a slightly longer side, which is this side where they run off. The shorter side, if you get it round the wrong way, it's pretty obvious because then you have really tight lines here. So it doesn't matter too much, but they do look better if you have the long side on one side and the long side on this side that join together. Now we'll need a reasonable length piece of cordage here, just enough so that I can tie the knots around the bowsprit there. Now I'm using my helping hands here so I can hold these blocks and putting just a little bit of white glue down that little seam line, which is, you don't need it. Some people don't even bother with that at all. I just find it kind of helps hold it all into place while I'm trying to sort of tie things off and seize things. So it's just a bit of an added helper. It dries clear, so you don't have to worry about it at all, Yes, the diehards and the sticklers and the old buggers, they'll say, no, you don't need any glue, but I do. So there we go. First knot, there it is. And now I just, again, glue that off and then double knot it so that it is all locked into place. Okay. Now the next bit is we're going to have to do some seizing on that. So to do that, I'm going to use both of my little forceps here. So I'll secure the block there, and then I'll pull up the cordage with the other one and adjust that until I've got it. Nice little sort of jig there. Okay, here we go. I'm using some just some thin black thread. It's been waxed, and then I'm going to wind that around there just 3 or 4 times until I get it sort of looking nice and seized. Very similar to how we did the dead eyes, and it just finishes it off. It also stops it unraveling, which is the thing. You don't want the bloody thing all coming to pieces later on. So it's simple as that. That's all wound around there, and there you go. That's how she looks. We're ready to go. Now I'm going to need a much longer piece of thread, and it's best to measure it off of the model because otherwise you could end up too short. which is really annoying. So it's going to start here, but it is going to have that bit of seizing. But while we're about that, we'll add that into our equation for some knotting. So from there to there. So that's how long it's got to be. Then we're going to allow probably half again for knotting. And if you don't, you can end up too short. You're always better off wasting a little bit of thread, but you can actually tie the knot, than going so short that it's just impossible to tie. Now, if you feel it's too long or even too short, before you kind of knot it all up and seal it, this has got some flexibility, so we can actually sort of pull one of them in and then let the other ones adjust. Right? And they will. That's exactly how the thing works, like a winch. So that's a bit shorter. I'll probably go a little bit shorter still. And pull until it all just adjusts itself. There we go, that might be more what I'm looking for. So you have wriggle room. Now you notice it was sort of twisting a little bit to the side there, and the reason for that is you've only got 2 strands there. You need 3 to complete this. So what I do, I don't know if this is correct, because some people may sort of wind it up there, is I go around the back here. We use all my helping hands here. I don't seem to have enough hands to do this. Okay, so I want that tied off against there, behind that knot. Okay, now that's just tied. Of course, as you can see, everything seems to have unravelled, so this is a good point to check. Pull everything through and go, okay, is my spacing still right? Yes, I'm happy with that spacing. So I can tighten that knot, glue it off, and this one's done. Now it's moment of truth. I've tied this up. It's all ready to go. So first off, we'll tie it to the bowsprit, because that's sort of a fixed point. So that's going to go on here. Again, twist is the way to go here. If the cord was just a little bit narrower, I could try and use my beading needle, but it isn't. Okay, and according to the ring diagram, it sits a little bit away from there. So we'll try that. Now we want to take this thread and we want to put it up through here. Fortunately, the ratlines are away. Let me show you how it should have been done. So this is how we should put it in. This is the main mast, not the foremast that I'm actually showing you. This is when I did the main mast before. And there's no ratline here yet. So it goes through the hole I made in the little fighting platforms there, the little crow's nests, which is not on the kit. The kit does not have that hole. Then it pulls through and it'll tie off there. That's how it should be. So now pulling that through, just as I showed you on the main mast, and you can see how everything was floppy, and we pull it up, all the ratlines are nice and tight, and the gammon pulls up, And you can't really over tighten this because you're pulling against the gammoning down here and the ratlines there. Although if you did this properly, the ratlines wouldn't be in the way. You just make it nice and tight to the gammoning, and it'd be nice and tight to the stay there. So now's the easy bit. And when I say easy, well, it's relatively easy. You just got to keep the tension on that so everything's nice and tight, and then that's what you really could do with 6 hands, but you don't have them. That goes through there. You pull it up, and it needs this little V piece. That's actually quite correct. There's no pulley or block there as far as I can tell. It just sits like that. And then if you've got everything nice and tight, this is your final knot. Now, because it's big cordage, if you kind of stuff this up, don't pull the knot too tight because you can always then loosen it. So with everything in place, holding, gritting your teeth, how'd we do? I think we're there. I've also seized off a join there, it's just that black cordage around it, exactly the same as I did with other dead eyes and things. So now glue is dry, should be able to get in there. You never need to get in too close. My wobbly hands. If you've got a couple of little glue blobs and you're thinking, oh, they look a bit horrible because they're white, Posca pans to the rescue. This is the same pan that I used at the beginning. Posca pen in there, and there's a bit of a white blob there from the glue that I just want to hide. You could use a black pen, but I'm using dark brown because I've got dark brown cordage. And there you go, all gone. Looks perfect. So there we have it. It's all together now. Well, there's still lots more to do. A hell of a lot more string goes on this, but we've got those stays in, and that's holding everything rigid, and that pulls our rat lines up. So I should have no trouble putting in the rat lines on the rest of that, especially using my rat line tool. Yeah, that'll be available for sale, and there will be links on the bottom of this video or on this video as the page goes up to sell them, along with, yes, the dead bug. So there you go. All right. Buttons down here, buttons, always buttons, okay? Lots of buttons. Those buttons are apparently important. Yeah, this is a big robot somewhere that checks, are you clicking the buttons? And if you click the buttons, people watch my videos, and I really want them to. So if you can, click these buttons. And also, if you really want to help me out, buy me a curry. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Keeps me fed. I hope you enjoyed that. They were interesting things to do. I enjoyed doing it. So look, it's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini. Don't pull on that bit of string. In fact, that was a bit of string I needed for some rigging. Oh no.